this recipe was inspired again by one of the patients that I saw who was experiencing a partial bowel obstruction. And as all the patients that go through this, there's always this kind of like, well, what vegetables and fruit can I have? And people find it very, very limiting. Which, like I said, again, yes, you do need to be careful how much fiber you intake. So it does, yes, your vegetable and fruit intake is less than, you know, what perhaps has been recommended in the past, but it doesn't mean that you can't have any. And so I always reiterate this, that, you know, there's tons of vegetables and fruit that you can have that is on our choose list. And you can get a variety of colors. So for example, you can get your oranges with carrots, your reds, yellows, greens, with peppers, right? Zucchini. You know, you could get a variety of different colors. It's just kind of a matter of taking off that skin and removing those seeds. So today we're going to do rice paper wraps, which are one of my favorite actually. And it is a little bit of a process, but Jared's going to show us how to we call it mise en place, so making sure that everything's set in your kitchen. And this could be a really great idea for a small meal, right? Because, you know, you could have 1, 2, or 3 and be sure that the amount of fiber is low. You could also add in things that don't have any fiber, like tofu or chicken or shrimp or crab, right, to add that extra protein. And for me, my favorite part of this dish is really the sauce, right, that peanut sauce. And again, those peanuts are things that are usually high in fiber. However, you're okay to have a smooth nut butter. Okay, so of course, when we're using this specific sauce, we're going to use that. So I'll let Jeremy kind of lead us throughout the way and show us how to make these delicious wraps.
Yeah, these are great. These are delicious, these little fresh spring rolls. They have a nice crunch, nice freshness to it, and we can really sort of lend to the flavors by adding a nice dressing. So that's what we're going to do. You can see from my toppings bar here, this isn't necessary. You don't need to have every single vegetable out. I just wanted to sort of provide some example. And then, like Steph mentioned, highlight some of the colors that we can choose from. Before we get to that, though, I do want to make this peanut sauce that Steph alluded to. Really, really tasty dressing and pretty simple as well. We're going to be using that creamy peanut butter, so you don't want to get like the chunky one. You want to get the creamy peanut butter. Is that what it's called? Chunky peanut butter? What's it called? What do they call it?
Yeah, I think it's, yeah, with chunks.
Chunky, yeah.
So just make sure it's like smooth.
Smooth, exactly, yeah. So I'm going to add a little bit of peanut butter.
And I will say though, like sometimes you could go to stores and make it yourself. I wouldn't suggest that for this situation, like buy it, because if you're making it on your own or, you know, or you're going to a place that's making it for you, it might still have those chunks and that's too much fiber. So you want to limit that.
Good point of the peanut butter. So don't make your own peanut butter.
You got it. Don't make your own peanut butter here.
So yeah, so smooth peanut butter, just store-bought, not homemade. And we're going to add a little bit of hoisin sauce to that, which is going to give us this nice little kind of sweet, salty, umami flavor. So just about like a tablespoon or so. And then a little bit of vinegar. So you can use like a rice wine vinegar is a little lighter in terms of acidity. So I think it works really well. But even if you had like a white wine vinegar or even like an apple cider vinegar, that will work as well. And about a tablespoon of that. So 2 tablespoons peanut butter, 1 tablespoon hoisin, 1 tablespoon of the vinegar. And then if we want it a little bit thinner, we can add a little bit of warm water to that as well, which I might need, we'll see. So I'm gonna whisk this. Yeah, so it's still on that thicker side. So I'm gonna add a little bit of warm water to this. Just until we get the consistency that we're looking for. And that might be enough. So it's very, very simple. 3 ingredients. And the hoisin is going to have a little bit of that sweet, a little bit of that salty. So you don't need to really add any extra salt to this. And if the vinegar is too strong, you can even use like a little bit of lime juice. You can use a little citrus if you want. Awesome. This is delicious. This is tasty on, you can do a stir fry, you can do, maybe not like a PB&J. Maybe that would be kind of weird, but.
This is definitely like the highlight of the
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna put this sauce. So now it's ready. Sauce is done. And we can start building our plate. So for these little spring rolls, we're going to be using these rice paper wraps. You can find these in most grocery stores. You may even use them before. They're fantastic. It's mainly rice. It's rice flour, maybe a little bit of tapioca starch and water, but pretty simple. And to get these ready, all you have to do is soak them in a little bit of warm water. And it's usually like 10 seconds. Like read the package. They might all be a little different, but usually it takes about 10 seconds or so until they're ready. So, and you can feel it once it's ready to go. So you can all count for me 10 seconds. And while that is soaking for our ingredients, again, try to focus on some different colors. There are some great options that you can still choose on that choose list. The one thing to just note is that you want to have it peeled. You want to make sure that they're peeled. You want to make sure that all the seeds are removed and cooked if you can. So softened to the point where it's broken down a little bit. Now, might be a little difficult if you're making kind of like this salad-y type dish. But what you can do is you can blanch the ingredients in advance. And so if you cut up some carrot and sliced it into these like little ribbons, which you can do whole carrot, cut off a side so that it's flat because you don't want it to roll around, and then just go through and create like thin slices. You can also do this with a peeler like this, with a vegetable peeler.
Oh, nice.
If you're not as confident in your knife skills.
So Jared, are these raw carrots or?
So these are raw, and what I was just saying is that you can blanch these. So at this point you have these nice ribbons, and then throw them into some boiling water just until they soften. They might take a minute or two because they're pretty small, and then throw them into an ice bath to chill. Okay, and then that's when you have this. So you have this vegetable that's been soft, peeled, but ready for like this sort of like fresh spring roll.
Awesome.
Another option is use canned. Again, there's nothing wrong with canned.
Nope.
And they have some great options. So I'll show you the difference. This was canned shredded carrots that I found for the first time.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and they're great. Rinse them, drain them, but they're nice and soft. And you have these nice little shreds that you can then add to like salads, soups, in a dish like this.
Yeah, and honestly, like make things easy for yourselves, right? I mean, this dish, it kind of, there's different steps to it. You do have to have everything in place. So if you're able to buy things that are already pre-cut, pre-washed, and then it's just a matter of assembling these wraps, and then voila, they're ready. And then you could kind of have them for a few days.
Absolutely. Okay, so to assemble, we've taken that soaked rice paper wrap, I've got it on a plate here, which it's probably very hard to see because it's quite translucent. And then you can start throwing your ingredients in the middle, and I do it in the middle and a little closer to me, just slightly off center. And I don't want to overpack it because otherwise it'll kind of burst open and the wrapper will break. But you'll kind of get a hang of it after the first time to see how much you can put in there. So I've got some beets as well that I blanched. You can find these again canned and they're softened. So there's an option. Zucchini, you know, there's still some great options that you can choose on there. And then they even have like those zoodles.
Sorry.
I was saying they even have those like frozen zoodle, vegetable noodle
Yeah.
things.
Awesome. Yeah. The only thing I will just remind you or everybody here is that you still need to pay attention to those portion sizes, right? So half a cup is still, you know, the serving size. So no more than 4 vegetable fruit total. So I would say this is a quarter of a cup, Jared?
In here right now, yeah, about a quarter of a cup.
Okay, yeah. So, you know, if you were to make 4 of those, you would be at 1 cup, let's say, right? And that's like a nice amount for let's say a meal or a snack.
Yeah, and then for protein options, we're pretty wide open, right, Stephanie?
Oh, yeah.
I have some like tofu here that I seared and just cut into some strips. You can even throw some egg ribbons on that. These are all really good options. If you had like cooked shrimp, you could throw that in there, right?
Yeah.
So
crab. Yeah. So those types of things, like those animal proteins, have no fiber. Tofu, very little fiber as well. So these are all things like, you know, because usually, yes, we say fiber fills you up, keeps you full for longer. But in this situation, you're going to have to decrease it. So you do want to make sure that you're having substantial amounts of protein.
Now I'm just got a little bit of lime in there just for some flavor. We have a sauce, so we're going to be using that mainly. But if you did want to season any of those ingredients ahead of time, you can always do that. And then to wrap it up, so you can see some of that veg, some of those egg ribbons, some of that tofu, and I'm going to start from the sides. So I'm going to fold in. Of course, I think I took too long. This is sticking a little bit. So we're going to fold in.
I usually put like a wet cloth or towel, like a tea towel underneath, and that just actually helps keep the rice paper wrap from.
Yes. Yeah. Great tip, Steph.
But honestly, these are I'm so looking forward. Thank you for the inspiration.
Oh yeah.
I guess I inspired myself, right?
So wrap the right side over, then the left side over, and then from the bottom, we're going to lift it up, kind of tuck it in a little bit. So we're almost kind of making a little burrito.
Yeah.
And then roll all the way around till the end until you have.
Beautiful.
And I can't wait.
In terms of storing them, in the past, like I've taken, let's say, a Tupperware and I've lined it with a wet, what's it called? Paper towel. And then I kind of fold them and then I put the next layer on top. So just kind of keeping them damp, I guess. Do you say that that's
yes.
They don't get
after rolled. Yeah, that's a good idea. That way they don't sort of dry out. But when you're making them, I would suggest do one at a time. If you start pre-soaking while you're rolling, it just gets too chaotic. So just do one at a time. But after they're made, yeah, absolutely. Great question. Yeah, damp paper towel, even some parchment that you can kind of run in water, throw that over top. That would work as well.
Awesome.
All right, so there's our spring rolls. On to the next and last.